Hey guys, morning. Tactics Stock coming at you guys with another video. Now I wanted to make this video kind of like a two-parter, a little bit. It's just going to be a general chat and talk video, really. It's not going to be about anything specifically, but a little bit about Malifaux, a little bit about the battle report I had yesterday that I'm going to be editing today and throwing up online. So if you're watching this video before you watch the bat rep, please be please understand that when we did this, we've never filmed the battle report before, so both of us it was a learning experience for us. So we ended up zooming in a little too far in some spots and focusing on the camera. Remember, like when we're watching the dice rolls happen, we're watching it through the camera, and the camera screen's very small. So in order to see the results of what the dice are, we have to look at it through the camera perspective, not through our own eyes. So we realized, like, you know, what we can see and what the camera sees is two different things. Like, the camera sees it, yes. We had to realize moving closer to the dice so we could see it through the camera actually made it way too big when you look at it like on a full screen computer screen, you know what I mean? So we learned that the hard way. So please forgive me if there's a lot of shots that are, like, you know, just way too close. On top of that, it's really hard to determine whether this camera's recording or not. So there was times where he thought he was recording and he wasn't, and other times where he was recording and he wasn't. So we had to, like, you know, miss a little bit of the beginning of the game. It doesn't really matter though. It doesn't affect huge on the game. We also made another mistake here and there about we made a bit of a mistake, on the death gesture. You're supposed to take your roundhouse at the end of the turn. Not that it would have made a huge difference, but you know, it could have made a little bit of a difference. So made a mistake there. Sorry guys. It's not a big deal. It wouldn't have changed a heck of a lot. So yeah. After that, you know, there really isn't much to say about the battle report. I think it demonstrated how the Harlequins we used correctly. I'm not going to say who won yet, but it's a good demonstration of how the Harlequins can be used right. Yeah, I recommend you look at it if you're learning how to use Harlequins still. Might be useful for you. So before we get into the next part of this video, which is going to be the bulk of this video, you can go ahead and watch the battle report if you wanted to. The reason why I want to talk about this and make this sort of a two-part video was, well, the rest of this video I want to kind of compare our games. When my buddy Ryan came over, we played two games. We played a game of Malifaux, and he's never played before, and then we played a game of 40K. So what happened was, he came over not knowing anything about Malifaux. He never even knew he was going to be playing Malifaux. I had kind of had it set up as a surprise. I bought him a starter crew, put it together for him, and just kind of had it ready on the table for him to play with. Now, we only played with like 3 models. Played with a henchman and 2 minions each. So we played 25 soul stone game. Excuse me. And both the henchmen we had were 10-point henchmen, so they were pretty expensive. So it didn't take a lot of points to get to 25 points. Now, I think at 25 points, the game is still very competitive and very fun. There's nothing, there's nothing about 25 points that feels like you're lacking. Like in 40K, when you play like too small of a game, it's not that much fun. In Fantasy, you play a game, it's too small, it's not that much fun. In Malifaux, it seems like you can play with even just like one model and make it interesting. And that's really cool. I like that a lot about Malifaux. Anyway, I still not going to reveal what happened in our 40K game, but our Malifaux game was like, he had a ton of fun. He was like, yeah, that game's actually a lot of fun. I think like I could really get into it, especially since the fact it's so low, investment required. You can just, show up with 6 models and be like, let's play, and like you don't have to really worry about bringing in cases of guys. Excuse me. You'd only have to bring like maybe like equivalent to like 1 infantry sheet of foam, and like you'd have enough for like 2 entire factions, which is huge considering Malifaux. So on top of that, the plastic that Malifaux's made of is fairly good. I don't know if it's as good as Games Workshop's plastics, but it seems pretty durable. I've dropped them and they haven't broke. Not on purpose, of course, but I've dropped them a couple times. Other than like some loose bits falling off the skeletons and stuff here and there, everything else has been holding together pretty darn well. I've already finished painting my Zamu, the armor or whatever his name is. He's a beautiful model. I love it because I can put so much of my time into one model, especially because each model is worth so valuable to you that you can put like hours upon hours into them because you're going to be looking at them for a long time. You might as well. And they're going to see a lot of play, really. I mean, if you think about those 6 models are going to see more play than like, all of my, any single model of my 40k army, really. Because I don't always take them in every single game. No, you're not always going to take every single model in every single game for every Malifaux career rank. Excuse me, but for the most part, you're going to end up including most of your models in every game. There's only going to be 1 or 2 that you're not going to use in certain situations. And I think that's really nice that you can invest a lot of time into just painting 1 or 2 models. Now, as far as the models go for the Malifaux range, this is me like coming at it as a new player, comparing it to sort of like the Games Workshop sort of plastic and kits. The kits are very advanced. I was very surprised. The kits are like you need tweezers to put some of these pieces onto the model, which is fine. Like sometimes, I actually ended up losing the beard off of like Yan Lo because it was so small that I was so late at night. I was holding the tweezers and my tweezer slips and it popped out and it flew across the room. And finding something the size of like, a fingernail shaving in an entire apartment, it's just something you'll never find it. So I ended up having to like green stuff one back on there, and it looks fine. So it's not a big deal. But that's how small the parts are. So it's not like a simple, easy build. This is not like a hobby, in my opinion, for kids. All the models are super intricate. They take a very long time to build. I hate building models. So this is my only gripe with them, is that it's a pain in the ass to build them because they're so intricate and there's so much detail. And they are like true scale models, like their hands and weapons and stuff are actually the correct scaling size for the model. It would be that big. And they look really cool, like when you're looking at them at a distance of like, half an arm's length. And at an arm's length, they look, like a real person would look from, a farther distance. And that's okay. It's a different style of model. They're not as epic scaled as, I think they're considered epic scale still, but they're not epic scale like 40k epic scale, like where the power sword's as big as like twice the size of their arm. Like it's just, that doesn't really exist, and like twice as long as their body. There's no weapons like that size. Now there is some big weapons like in them that they're carrying, like big spears and stuff. But they're not as thick. They're very thin models. Like all the plastic is very thin. And I thought it would be very fragile, and it is a little fragile, but it's not too bad. Like I said, I've dropped them. It hasn't bent any of them. They bounce back. They're really like resilient, and they're really bendy. They bend before they crack. They snap, which is nice, which means they're not super brittle. Now you are made in China because it's plastered all over the thing. They're not trying to hide that. But they package them really well with foam on one side, and they raise the entire sprue on stilts, so it doesn't actually have any chance of bending any of the pieces or damaging the pieces during shipping, which is nice. So awesome job there. Painting them, I'm having a ton of fun painting them. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't had so much fun painting something in such a long time. I can't wait to paint all of my model, all the Malifaux stuff I got. It'll probably all be done in like 2 weeks. And the fact that I know that it's going to be done in 2 weeks is just like, it's so much hope for me. Like, I'm such a completionist as a hobbyist. So this hobby is like perfect for me because I can paint up like 6 guys in a weekend essentially, and be like, look, I just painted a whole crew in a weekend. Like that's it's a good feeling. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like in 40k. All right, well, I spent all weekend painting and I got 10 dwarves are done. 10 dwarves are done. That was a lot of work. And they look okay. Like, they're tabletop ready. They're not like, my best quality. I didn't spend a lot of time fixing up all the mistakes I made. They're just, they're good enough. No one's going to really see any of the little mistakes I made underneath some of the arms and stuff. So I'm just going to leave them like that. And, that's it. And that's really what you have to kind of settle with when you're painting Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer Fantasy is because you're painting so many models. You really don't have time to, fix every little detail and paint every little detail on the model because there's too many models to paint. You know what I mean? You need to paint so much stuff just in order to play the game. You don't have to play with painted models, but I hate playing with unpainted models. It just doesn't feel right. I rarely play with fully painted 40k armies because 40k for me gets really dry really quick because I played it so much. So I have to play with like a different army every game, or I just get really bored and then I just don't even pay attention to the game and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, just kill my stuff. I really don't care. I really don't try because I'm not having fun. Anyway, that's it. Really talking about the models. The models, in my opinion, are fantastic models. I hate building, so that's my only gripe with the entire game so far. Is the building is a pain in the ass. But that's just me. I hate building. If you like building and you like intricate builds, you're gonna love these models because they're really good. They're really good models. The quality, the actual look of the models look better than most Games Workshop models, in my opinion. Like, their skeletons look like, skeletons would look. Their zombies look a lot more like zombies would look. Games Workshop's models are very, cartoony, in my opinion. Like, they're very cartoony-looking models. There's not, any realism behind them. They look like, the fantasy zombies look like, zombies you would see in, Plants vs. Zombies, you know what I mean? They don't look like scary mutant zombies, but in this game, they really do. They look like, you could make them look like scary, evil-looking undead stuff. So, I mean, I like that about it. It's a different style of painting I can do now. Typically, when I paint Warhammer 40k and 40,000, I make it, I paint it cartoony because the models are cartoony, so it just fits really well. With these models, I'm being very subtle with my highlighting, so therefore I can, it doesn't pronounce all the different edges and weapons and all the things that point out. They're not gonna be embossed as much. You're not gonna be like, holy crap, that thing's just popping off the model. Everything's very subtle. There's definitely highlighting and layering on the models that I'm painting. But when you see them on from a far distance, they're not going to be like, holy crap, look at that guy across the table. He's not going to pop off the table. He's going to kind of blend in with the scenario. You know what I mean? Which I like because when you look at the model close enough, the model looks awesome. And because there's so few models on the table, you're going to be looking at the models much more closely than you will, the models that are in 40k. You're just looking at that's a unit. The plasma gun, it's glowing. Look how glowy I made it. It's super bright, the plasma effect. That's the kind of stuff that 40k is good for. You have this big glowy weapon or big shiny weapon that you've painted to make it stand out on the table. There's nothing really like that. I didn't really make any weapons anything on my models look like that. So it's challenging my painting skills where it's making me paint a little different than I ever have before. So I like that. I like being able to be challenged and paint a little different out of my comfort zone in terms of style. And yeah, I think that's a great thing. More about the game now. We're going to talk about our game we played. So me and Ryan played a game. He actually won our game Malifaux. I didn't record that video, so I'll tell you about our game we played. We played the center line was, we played corner deployment, and we played the kill point game. We ended up just randoming the kill point game, which is good because it's an easy game to understand. The concept of doing it, you just have to kill 2 models in a single turn to get a victory point. And that's the main goal of the game. And then you have, your third. I think we had assassinate. We had deliver a message, lay in the sand, of course. I can't remember the other ones. I think the one was, corner control, where you have to put the ski markers in the corners. There was that game mission, and there was also nominated enemy minion. You have to kill that minion with another nominated minion of yours, or something like that. I think that was the other mission. Anyway, I took assassinate. I think he also took assassinate. We both took 2 other ones that we never accomplished. So basically, we were just going in to kill each other. Really, is what we were doing. So it was a very straightforward game. There wasn't very much thought involved because I was explaining things. He's like, yeah, like it's that. I'm going to go with that one. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go with that one too. I'm just going to tell you because, well, you're not supposed to tell people about these schemes. And he's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. So like, you know, there's a lot of things he was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I never heard of a game. I never thought of playing it, you know, a tabletop game like that. I'm like, I know it's very different. And I think his first couple turns, he was very confused, and he was like, I don't understand this game at all, like, blah, blah, blah. After he made a couple attack flips, and by, like, turn 3, he was, like, fully into it. He was like, yeah, burn a soul stone, draw 2 more cards. Like, well, I was like, oh, okay, all right, on. Like, I wasn't even telling him what he could do. He was just doing things on his own. And, you know, he won most of his dual flips, and he cheated in and won a couple of his, where I cheated in won a couple of mine. I kind of held back on some of my cheating just to make it so, you know, it was a little more interesting, so he could learn a bit more mechanics about the game. I wasn't really playing to win, obviously. But that being said, I don't think I would have won even if I cheated when I could have cheated, because I used those cards later to prevent some damage and succeed in some damage. So, yeah, it was a good game. I killed his leader, he killed my leader. His other guys ended up just killing the rest of my stuff. I think I killed one. I think he ended the game with 2 models, and he had a total of 4, and I lost everything and had a total of only 3. The reason being is he killed my resurrection chick, my healer chick. I can't remember her name, right away, like almost on turn 2, I think. So she didn't get a chance to heal back any wounds on any of the guys, which made it very difficult for me to win the game, because I lost my... As Resurrects, if you lose all your ways of healing and bringing guys back to life, you kind of lost the game. They just don't have... Because you have no shooting and stuff, it just makes it really hard to... well, because I didn't have any shooting in the crew I was taking, or had the option of taking any shooting in the points we were taking, you know, it made it very, very difficult. Now, that all being said, I don't think shooting is king. I don't think shooting is the end-all, be-all. I guarantee shooting is definitely very good. But I don't think, you know, an entire crew of shooting would be... I mean, it would definitely be something you can make work. I'm not saying you can't make it work. I'm just saying it's not like a whole melee crew wouldn't be able to beat a whole crew that's all shooting. I can guarantee you a crew that has no guns whatsoever can beat a crew that has only guns. And that's what I like. I like a game where, you know, there's no real, like, rock, paper, scissors of this beats this, and this beats that, and this beats this, and this beats that. I just like the fact that you don't have to worry. Because typically if you don't have a gun, you usually have a lot of things to make up for the fact you don't have a gun. If you have a gun and a shooting attack, usually you don't have any kind of gimmicky stuff. You're just basically a gun and a shooting attack. You don't really have anything else. Now, if you don't have a close combat attack and you only have a shooting attack, sometimes you have some passives that make it so your guns just kind of take it a bit above and beyond the normal shooting attack model. But at the same time, if you're melee combat and you have no shooting attack, again, you end up with usually more durability and some sort of special way of doing more damage or attacking more times than you normally would be allowed to. So, with all those mechanics, like because every model is balanced within its own internal self, and they point it accordingly, the game is very balanced because they control... There's no, like, generic weapons in the game, you know? Not that you can't balance the game based on generic weapons. Like, a spear is not a spear necessarily. Like, you know, like, whatever weapon he's using is his weapon that does a special thing. You know, that they've done tons of playtesting with to figure out where they're supposed to be on the scale of, like, you know, 1 point to 10 points, you know? Like, they've basically done their homework on finding out what power level everything should be and what cost everything should sort of be. Now, I don't think it's all 100% perfect. I guarantee you it's not 100% perfect, but it's definitely very good. It's a very, very balanced system, at least when it comes to the points-wise. Like, you're not going to be like, holy crap, that guy's amazing. How many points is he? Oh, he's 5. Okay, he should totally be 10. You know, you're never really going to say that. You're going to more or less go, okay, how many points is that guy? 10? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's definitely 10. Yeah, he's a 10. And then you're going to go over his stats, and you're like, oh, so his weaknesses, he has none of this. Or, oh, his weakness is, you know, shooting. Or, oh, his weakness is, willpower. His willpower sucks. You know, So it's like, oh, so how I beat him next time? If I see him across from me, I'm going to take something that has like a lot of willpower duels that I can beat him with, or things that just ignore armor. It's like, oh, he's got 3 armor. Okay, well, wow, that's insane. So I can't kill him the conventional damage way. I'm going to have to use willpower or abilities that just don't get reduced by armor, such as poison or burning and whatnot. And that's really how it has to be. That's really like all what the internal balance of this game really is. Everything has sort of a weakness, and everything sort of has a strength. And some guys are all around, but typically it seems like all around guys, they're pretty averagely point costed. They're not very low, they're not very high. They're just all around essentially. Usually their abilities are kind of lackluster. It's kind of like just a minor thing. It's like all in the defense flip. If they flip, a diamond, it's like, oh, you get to move the model like 4 inches in a direction. It's like, okay, that's all right, I guess. I mean, it's a nice little perk. If it happens, it's gonna maybe happen once a game if you're lucky. If you have multiples of them. I mean, I guess you could cheat it in, but if you're already succeeded in your defense flip, you're not going to cheat in a diamond of the same defense flip just so you can move them an additional 4, typically, unless you need to really get where you need to go. Which is why the resource management decisions are so big in this game. And I think it's really cool that you can do that. Now, I haven't read all the rules yet, so I could be wrong on a lot of different things that I'm doing wrong. So I didn't show him all the different things you could do. Like, we didn't really do much with scheme markers because I told him about them and how it sort of works. And he's like, oh, okay. He kind of had some trouble like wrapping his head around that because we saw it when he played the game when I was explaining it to him. So until you play the game, you can't really, picture it in your head. You're kind of like, what? I don't understand what you mean. And then you play it and you're like, oh, I fully understand what you mean. Okay, that makes sense. And it just makes it much easier. Now, if you think about the game as a whole, I think learning this game from just reading the rules and watching battle reports and not having anyone to teach me the game, it's been a little more harder for me to learn the game versus if I had someone teach me the game. So I'm having a little bit of trouble, because all you do is you read the rules, you interpret them the way you interpret them, and then when you play with them, you're like, wait a minute, I think we're doing this wrong. And then you read it again, you're like, yep, we're doing it wrong. We're supposed to do this and this and this. It's like, oh, okay. So there's a lot of that going on when I'm doing this. So I'm having a little troubles with that. Now, I've already really kind of memorized the charts of, what, a minus damage flip, a straight flip, and a positive damage flip will be. And there's all the little kind of middle rules in between, like you can't cheat a negative damage flip. I didn't know that. I thought you just couldn't cheat damage at all until someone said, no, you can cheat a plus or a straight flip. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that I did not know. So that makes a big difference. That makes it even more reason to make it so you don't want them to take, more than 1 or 2 damage. You definitely don't want them to have a straight flip because being able to cheat in the red Joker could just, one-shot your guy. And, you don't want that to happen. So, yeah, it's definitely a good game. We both had a lot of fun playing. He was really excited about the models. He was excited about learning more, and I have the PDF rules. I sent him my PDF copy of the rules. I bought the rule book as well, the hard copy, so I'll have that. He'll have my PDF version, and that I bought. I paid for it. Don't worry. And yeah, he's excited to even introduce it to his girlfriend because she plays 40K and she just hates the game, the rules of 40K. But this game might appeal to her a little more once you play it and stuff. So overall, my first couple of games of Malifaux I played, very much a learning experience. Very fun though. Definitely did a lot of stuff wrong, so I'm gonna have to reread the rules in some spare time, how to do a lot of things, because a lot of things I just didn't know how to do because I didn't really see them in a battle report and I kind of just glanced over them. I didn't read them in depth of how to do everything in the rules. Like typically when I read through the rules 1 or 12, quickly just flip through them, I just kind of like, yeah, I understand movement. Okay, yeah, okay, I understand line of sight. Sure, you measure from there to there. Okay, yeah, keep going. I don't read all the different blurbages so I don't know all the details about everything always. So because of that, some situations popped up during the game where it's like, can you shoot through your own models? I'm like, I don't know, I think so, but I really don't think you can. Now that I've read, I haven't read the rules again since to check it. For our game, we just allowed it to happen because I'm like, I don't care, whatever, just do it. Doesn't matter. For this purpose of a learning game, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. And then, if you can't, I'll just let you know when I read the rules next time. He's like, yeah, it sounds good to me. I'm like, all right, cool. So he just did it, and I'm pretty sure you can, because there's guys who say you don't need to you can ignore models that are in the way. So because of that, I guarantee you it's a rule, only by reading other stat cards. If you're listening to this and you play Malifaux, you're like, no, you can't shoot through people. No way. What are you doing? You're an idiot. And it's like, I understand. I didn't know the rules. I'm sorry. I didn't have time to read every single rule while building, 2 crews and, setting up a table and all that. It was hard to do everything all at once. And that's why at first glance, I thought this game was a very simple game and very easy to learn. And I still think it's a fairly easy game to learn the basics, but there's a lot going on in a game, and I think that can be a little confusing to a new player. So that's my only real gripe with it, is that there is a lot going on all the time, and you need to have lots of tokens to represent everything that's going on all the time. And on top of that, you have to... Sometimes it's a little tricky to keep track of which minion's which. So, for example, if you have 3 minions that are the exact same type of minion, I know they're labeled minion 1, 2, 3, but until you paint stuff, it's also kind of very difficult to see. Which minion was minion 1 again? I don't know. I think it was this guy. No, it was this guy. I don't remember. You know what I mean? We both don't remember. And it's like, all right, well, we'll have to go back in time and replay our turns. After replaying the turns, it's like, all right, it's this guy. Right, okay. Especially when they're all grouped next to each other side by side, it makes it kind of difficult. So that's the only reason why I'm thinking, you got to keep track of all these other things. But typically I'm probably going to put a 1, 2, 3 on their base, on the bottom of their base or something like that, just to keep track when there's multiple minions, so I know which one's which. And then on their card, just write 1, 2, 3 on the card as well to represent which one's which. Just so we know what stats are whose and whatever, and just so you can keep it right. So I learned a lot of that. A lot of the other things too is the objectives, the scheme objectives. It's kind of hard to remember what you're trying to do. A lot of times I find myself, what am I trying to do again? I don't even remember. There's so much stuff going on in this game. I kind of forget what I'm even attempting to accomplish. And then I read it again, and I'm like, okay. So what you have to do is we really need to print off all the schemes and then highlight the one you're trying to go for. Keep it on hand and take a look at it kind of every turn. So you can be like, all right, yes, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that. I can't find the objective marker cards or the scheme cards. I just couldn't find any available for sale. If anyone knows a place where I can pick up some, I would love to, because they're just so useful. I think overall we had a lot of fun playing. It took only 20 minutes to play a game. He was very surprised. Even a learning game only took 20 minutes to play. And we were off to the races. There wasn't a lot of investment. And he was like, oh, so the game was really quick, and we can still play a game of 40K after this, and whatever. So after we played our game of 40K, and I'm not going to tell you who won, but someone won by a landslide. It was just an astronomical amount. The one person got tabled, essentially. The other person lost, I think, 3 models, maybe 6. So very low models were lost on one side, and all the models were lost on the other side. And it really all came down to basically turn 1 and 2. Turn 1 and 2, basically, it was a small game. It was a 1250-point game, so it wasn't a huge, battle report. But, one of us went first, and one of us basically just lost, a good chunk of their army and their support fire. And then after that happened, it kind of just went downhill for that person. And it wasn't even bad dice rolls. It was just the fact that, Warhammer 40K is very imbalanced. It's a very, very, very imbalanced game. And I don't think either of us had a lot of fun playing that game. Both of us were kind of just all right, well, we're doing a battle part. We can't just call it here. We're only on turn 2. And, he's like, oh, let's play it out, whatever. At the end of turn 4, there was still, I think there was like maybe 5 models left. And it was like, all right, well, typically at this point the game's over because there's no way you can go grab those objectives, and there's no way, you know, anyone can stop that person from getting from denying the win, because there's only 1 unit left versus 6. You know, like that person, like one person can hold 6 and one person can hold 1. Like in a 4 objective game, and you know, there's no way you can stop that person from winning in 2 turns. Like you can maybe kill 1 unit if you rolled perfect, and all the best scenarios happen. But typically, it's just not going to happen. Like, there's no way. And it's unfortunate. Like, there's really nothing you can do. But after our game, you know, he was kind of just like, like, you know, I'm sorry. It was like, it wasn't a good game, you know. One of us felt really bad about the other person's loss, because it's like, you know, I know that you didn't have fun playing that game. I didn't have fun beating you that game. You know, it was just not a good game. Versus with Malifaux game, it was very close, and it was like, you know what, that was a good game. That was close. You know, that was like, holy crap, like, you know, you only won by 1 victory point or 2 victory points, which you know, I could have done a couple different things, which would have saved my, my healer Reser chick to kind of heal back my models. And I could have done some things here and there to heal back a bunch of wounds. You know, I think I flipped worse than him overall, but I don't think that's what determined the game. What determined the game was definitely the fact that he targeted the right target by fluke. First, I forgot about one of the rules that she had, that he wasn't used, that something to prevent him from shooting me, which I didn't use, and I completely overlooked that rule. I didn't even read it. I didn't even notice until she was like on her last wound. And I was like, well, it's kind of too late now. We can't really undo all that. So she's just dead. And it was like on turn 3 that I realized that when she died. So it was definitely like, oh, whoops, I didn't realize that she was still alive. Yeah. So... overall, after playing both games, both of us agreed that Malifaux was definitely the much more fun game. Now, that could be because it's a brand new game for both of us, but at the same time, I don't think so. What makes a game fun is when both people have an equal chance to win throughout the entire game. And it wasn't until like the last turn where it was like, all right, I don't think I can pull this off, you know, because he didn't know objectives I went for, but it was pretty obvious that I was going for kill him because, well, my entire crew was a very killy crew. Like, everything was killy on both sides, really. So it was like, you know, who can out-kill each other. But like, it didn't seem like, you know, his models were, you know, weaker than mine, and my models didn't feel much more powerful than his. Now my samurai, Izumu, is a monster in combat, and I think he realized that when I didn't have a gun or anything like that, and I finally charged his henchman and just one-shot his henchman, because I got 3 melee attacks at plus damage flips. Because that's just what he does. And it's 3, 4, 5 damage, I think he does. It's insane. At a plus damage flip, that's just nasty. So, especially since he has no armor or anything that protects you. I mean, he only had, like, I think 6 wounds. So, I think I got 2 straight damage flips on him and just took him down. And that was it. Like, I just killed his henchman, and he was like, wow, that guy's serious. I can't seriously fight him in close combat. I'm like, no, definitely not. But after he killed I killed his henchman with my Izumu, his minions just kind of swarmed him. All of them jumped on him and just took down his last remaining 3 wounds. You know, no problems. He ended up having like 5 burning conditions on him by the time, I took down his henchman, and then that was it. I had another skeleton guy in the back that had like 1 wound left that ended up just dying he had 3 burning tokens on him as well. So I couldn't get rid of all 3 with, you know, only 2 actions. So I was like, well, he's dead as well. There's nothing I can do about stopping that much burning. Yeah, that was it. That was the end of the game, really. At that point, we were both tied, but there was an extra 2 turns left, so it gave him enough time to... that mission, the way that works is that for every turn that your opponent has no models on the table, you get an extra victory point at the end of the game. So he ended up getting 2 more that way and pulling it off a win by 2 because there was just 2 turns left in the game. And yeah, that was it, really. There was really nothing more to say. Obviously, I made some major mistakes. He played fairly well. He played to his, like, I told him he was like a shooty guy, or crew, so yeah, he played to that kind of mentality, and I was kind of like the charge in head first. But I didn't protect my support character, which I should have done. And it could have been protected by line of sight of my own models, which I did not realize. So I should have just kind of formed a wall and moved them up all together in one big clump. Because, I mean, even though he's got this ricochet and all these other things, it would have still, I think, been better to keep them sort of together. And it definitely would have paid off for sure. But yeah, those are our games. I still like 40k, though. I'm not going to not play 40k. I'm just going to be kind of focusing mainly on Malifaux lately. I'm probably going to get rid of a lot of my 40k armies that I don't play with anymore, because armies that I don't like the models for. Well, I never bought an army that I don't like the models for, but there's a lot of armies I have. Just so many models. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. So, for example, my Corsairs. I have so many, Guardians, Corsair Guardians, that it's just not even funny. I got like 30 of them. I just don't really want to paint that many. Considering I know that the army book's never going to get updated, can still be played with in this edition, but they really suck. They're not competitive at all. With all the new books coming out, they've fallen off. They're by far one of the worst armies out there. I'm not saying that I can't win with them. I could definitely probably make them work. I'm not going to play them because of that, but it's hard to get excited about an army that you know is terrible. And especially since it's just Eldar, really. I mean, all the models are just Eldar with wings, right? They're not, like, super cool models. They're okay, they're alright models. But we'll see. I'll see if I can solve my Eldar Corsairs. They're all unpainted, they're unprimed, so they're, like, just plastic still. So I could probably get a pretty decent amount of money for them, because they are Forge World. And people still want Forge World armies and Forge World models. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll have to see where my 40k career goes from here. I really don't need to have as much 40k as I do. I really don't want as much 40k as I have anymore. I'd rather have more fantasy, if anything, because fantasy is just, in my opinion, a better game. I'll just play 8th edition with people that still want to here and there. People who play Age of Sigmar, I guarantee you that game's going nowhere. It just doesn't make sense for that game to... Like, all the existing players that want to play Age of Sigmar are just rebasing their armies, and all the people who are playing Age of Sigmar brand new are just buying that starter box, or they're just... People are not interested in it like they would be with 40k. Like, it's funny because a lot of people are ditching their 40k armies now because they're just not trusting Games Workshop with their money anymore. You know that they may just end up being cast aside because of, sales aren't good enough right now, so let's change up the rules so they're no fun. Okay, no, you can't really do that, Games Workshop. You're gonna piss off all your existing customers, and for the most part, most of your customers are existing customers, just like everything else. Anyway, guys, that's the end of this video. Thanks for listening. Hopefully what I said makes sense. And happy wargaming.